Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Nick Dove and this podcast is called Afterlife Pod. Got an experience here from a woman called Anna. Looks like the experience was originally written in Spanish, but someone's beautifully translated it into English for us. And I would like to read it to you. It's just a short one. It's only a few paragraphs long, so it won't be a long episode, I would have thought. Depends on how long I put into the commentary. But yeah, if you just like to listen to the experience itself, it won't be a long episode. So let's get started. I lost my sensory connection with all my surroundings. I felt as if my body was shrinking, losing each extremity one by one. Fingers, hands, feet, arms, legs, etc. My body was reduced to nothing at all, and all that remained was my consciousness. At the beginning, I felt upset at losing my beautiful and precious body. This was the first time in my life that I thought of it as beautiful and precious, mind you. I became aware that somehow light itself was calling to me. Then I found myself submerged in something which seemed like a warm and welcoming sea, black and dark, where there was no sound. I wondered why no one else was there. As I lifted my eyes, I found myself gazing at a light which shone from beyond the sea in which I was submerged. The light resembled nothing I had ever seen before. It was huge, and I would even say infinite. Like a sun above the sea, it gleamed with every colour. I could feel its warmth. It seemed to have a life of its own consciousness, and its own movement. And it seemed to be aware of me and to be communicating with me telepathically. I perceived the light above the water as being part and parcel of my light. That is to say, myself. I was part of the light. The surface of the water was like a wall which separated us from each other, although we were the same thing. Gazing at the light, I was filled with energy, and my only thought was to reach it. I moved as fast as I could, but I collided with something. It was like an elastic wall of water. I then started using all my strength to break through that wall of water. I wanted only to reach the light. Nothing else had any meaning, and I was thinking to myself, "No, you stupid wall, you are not going to stop me from reaching my light." At the same time, something was calling me back. Someone was feeling fearful emotions. I didn't realize that these feelings were coming from me, from my own human feelings of attachment. The light informed me that in fact the fear and attachment to the world were my humans. I ignored those feelings and went on pressing against the wall of water so I could merge with the light, which now appeared formless. I longed to enter its embrace and finally did so. In the communication that followed, I had the feeling that we were good friends, the light and I, and that we had known each other always and had been through many things together. The struggle with my human emotions ceased. Everything was calm. I had a fleeting vision of minor but problematic conflicts, during which the light taught me to avoid harming others. The light asked me to explore my current feelings. Was I afraid? Was I okay now? What things did I wish for? How was I feeling? In the end, I decided I was really happy to return to Earth, to make good the hurt that I had caused. As I decided this, I felt myself being called back here again. I did not resist. I felt a peaceful resignation, a kind of, damn it, these human limitations don't appeal much to me, but this is something I have to do. And that's the end of Anna's experience. So this one jumps straight into the good stuff, the peek behind the veil, or the glimpse of the other dimension, and the connection with the light. It doesn't talk at all about what has caused her to pass and cross this and jump to this other dimension. It gets straight into it. Sometimes it's quite interesting to hear how people find themselves in the situation where they are dying. Sometimes when I read these experiences, that part can actually go much longer than the actual near-death experience part, which I like to obviously focus on. That's my passion. That's my almost addiction these days, is finding out as much about the light as possible. So much so that I'm even thinking of doing a theology degree after I have finished this nursing one. So yeah, I've definitely drawn to the topic, and I see a lot of similarities between these experiences and what we find in religions. So I figure I've kind of taken a bit of an alternate path to God, but yeah, I'm kind of curious now as to what some of these other big religions have to say, and look at that in a little bit more depth. But at the end of the day, I think we all take this spiritual journey in our own unique way, and find the light eventually, whether that's during this lifetime or when we cross over. We all get to go back to it. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, I liked how she's just jumped straight in and straight into the guts and the good bit, and the bit I think we are all interested in if we're listening to this podcast. So, it starts off with a bang. She's losing her sensory connection with her surroundings. So she describes this death process as if her body's shrinking and slowly, disintegrating. And she's begins by losing her toes and fingers, and then that moves to her arms and legs, and it's just slowly, I guess, making its way into the core of her body. And at first she's kind of panicking. She must be realizing that she's dying, but as this slowly deteriorates, she kind of figures, or it clicks, that there is a part of her that is not going to die. There is some indestructible force inside her that is immune from death. And this is what this topic of near-death experiences is all about. What is that consciousness? What is that soul? What is that spirit? It's difficult to define. It's almost like this magic substance that is in all of us, that is undetectable yet capable of incredible things. Certainly science hasn't been able to prove its existence yet. And yeah, it's almost too good to be true to think that there is a part of us that is just sitting back, having this human experience that knows within itself that it can't be hurt. It's literally just sitting there, having the human experience you're having right now. And once this body expires, and it goes to the next place. So it's this is why I love reading these experiences, because often in our own little world of humans and planet Earth, we get distracted and challenged and forced to not be aware of our spiritual nature. It's like the drama of this human world. It totally absorbs our concentration, and we can't tap into that part of ourselves that is, pretty magical. And that's why I love these experiences, because it reminds me, and hopefully you, of the fact that this experience we're having is only a temporary one, and we're at our core divine, infinite spirits that is just in planet Earth for a temporary amount of time, and eventually we'll graduate and go to another place that is seemingly much more enticing. So her body's, it's going, and she's freaking out a little bit, but then she kind of relaxes, because she realizes that she's got this eternal part to her that can't be touched by death. And for her, after this body dies, I guess, she finds herself in, I guess, what some people would describe as a void type environment. For her, it's like she describes it as a dark black sea. And some people say it's like being in the middle of space with no stars or sun or people anywhere. It's just in this black nothingness. I guess a big black ocean is a similar way of describing it. There's no sound there. She feels submerged in it. So yeah, it's very similar to how some people describe the void. She can't see anyone else there. It's totally empty, and as per usual, as what usually happens after a while, she sees a light in the distance. So the way she describes it is she sees herself just suddenly gazing at a light, and she says this light shines from beyond the sea in which she was submerged, and the light doesn't resemble anything, but it is huge. It's infinite, and it is shining with every color. It also has warmth to it. It's like it's its own being. Has its own consciousness, its own intelligence, and it's able to communicate as well. So yeah, like this light, it's out of this world, and it is clearly something that humanity cannot comprehend, because it's such a foreign concept to us to have this substance almost that is capable of creating any shape. It can create its own temperature. It can move. It doesn't have a body. It's intelligent. It's able to communicate. So yeah, clearly this goes far beyond anything we can put our little human minds get our heads around. So the light then begins to communicate with her, and she feels very drawn to this light. It's like a moth to a light almost. It's very enticing, and she just becomes fixated with reconnecting with this light, and moves as fast as she can to get to it, to merge with it, and finds that she gets very close, but there seems to be some kind of barrier there. She describes it as an elastic wall of water. She starts to use all her strength to get through this wall of water, to reach the light, as she thinks, I'm a light being. I can't see why this just a little barrier fence thing's going to stop me from reaching it. So Anna's in this other realm now. Feels like she's in a void. She's looking at some sort of barrier to her connecting with the light, and she's desperately trying to overcome this barrier. And while all this is going on, because in this other dimension there's a lot of things happening all at once, so while she's trying to find this light, trying to get through this barrier, there's also some part of her that is still connected to her human body. She's sensing that, she uses the word someone, has some fearful emotions, but she doesn't realize, in her spirit state, that this someone she can sense having these fearful emotions is actually herself, or her human form. And she's able to sort of ask the light telepathically, what's going on here, and the light tells her that, look, this is your human body. It's scared of what's happening to it. It's basically dying. And this is what's causing these fearful emotions. And Anna doesn't care in this other state. It's like a lot of people, when they're having these near-death experiences, they leave the body, their human form becomes very disconnected, and has nowhere near the significance or importance that we all place on it while we are inhabiting it, I guess. It's human nature to want to protect yourself from physical pain, from emotional pain, and it must be nice to be in this other state and not have to be so concerned about negative consequences happening to your form. And in this case, Anna's exactly the same as a lot of the other experiences I read. She just wants to move on and let go of this physical realm and press on towards the light. So she's pushing through this barrier, and she's finally able to break free. Now, this is different and interesting, because usually I read these experiences and they come to this barrier and they're unable to pass it, because they feel, or they sense, that if they do get past this barrier, that they're not able to come back to this physical life we are all living now. But in Anna's case, it's probably the first one I've actually come across where they reach this barrier and are able to actually get past it. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, but clearly she's able to come back to this physical body, so crossing this barrier has not been a pathway or an obstacle into returning into the physical life. So I don't know what this barrier is supposed to represent in this experience, but anyway, she's able to push through, and when she does, she is able to clearly and connect and communicate with the light. They're able to embrace. They have a bit more of a chat. And I like what she's written here. She says that the light and her are good friends. They've known each other always and had been through many things together. It's good to know that, or to be reminded, or to at least be pushed into the direction of having a bit of faith that there is a light, there is a God, there is a higher power, there is something that we all, you, me, everyone, has known forever. And there is that kind of friendship and connection there. And it understands what we're all going through. And it has seen us all go through many, many different experiences. And I guess that would mean physical and spiritual form type scenarios. For me, that makes me feel good. And I think I've spoken about it many times before. Like, I'm lucky enough to sense that connection in this physical realm. So to think that it goes to another level, and there's some kind of intimate or personal relationship there between you and the source, is a beautiful thing. And I just hope that all you can somehow sense or connect to that source here while you're a human, because there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to. You just ask it to come into your life, and yeah, it should happen. I don't know. For me personally, I didn't even have to ask. I was lucky enough for it to just start occurring. But yeah, hopefully, if you haven't found that connection yet, you can just ask it. Just say, light, God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Just show me who you are, and show me that you're there for me. And hopefully that can manifest pretty quickly. So as Anna's reconnecting with this light, she says it kind of calms her down. There's no more connection to the human emotions she was feeling. So maybe that's what this barrier was. It's once it's crossed any form of resemblance or connection to the physical realm is totally erased, and you are no longer associated in any way with the human body and the emotions and the pain and suffering that can bring. And that's what I thought the barrier was, but I also thought that the barrier was something that once crossed meant you can't come back. But obviously in this case that is not the case. And the light then gives her a bit of a lesson, or gives her a bit of advice on to how to conduct herself here on Earth. And I guess here we get a bit of an idea of what Anna was like as a person. And she says she is kind of reminded by the light she's had issues with problematic conflicts. So I don't know if that means she's has a kind of combative sort of personality, one that likes an argument. But anyway, that's just a very unprofessional guess at what she means by that. But anyway, the light says that it's teaching Anna how to avoid harming others. It's something I think most of us tried to do. Like, we know what being harmed is like, and harming others is a bit of a non-brainer, but obviously this experience we have, we're often pushed in all sorts of directions, and that can make us explode sometimes, and it's and hurt others, and that's an unfortunate outcome of the environment we're in. I think most of us, if we're honest, have been mean or nasty to someone at some point in our lives, and it's not something that, if we're to believe what these near-death experiences say, is a natural state for us. Like when we're in this other realm, I think we're connected, we're more loving, and to be in a place where we can harm others, and sometimes even intentionally do that, it seems like it's very foreign to the state we are used to. Maybe that's part of the experience of coming down here. Maybe that's something, even though it doesn't sound like it's something we would want to experience from a human point of view. Maybe that is part of it for some of us, to come down and see what it's like to hurt others, as weird and as sick and as warped as that might sound. It's a possibility, like everything, these experiences, you just, it's like an infinite number of options as to why a lot of us came down to earth, and experiencing being the source of someone else's pain and suffering is a possibility. It's difficult to think that it is, but who knows? So the light asks Anna to just constantly explore her feelings when she gets into these combative states, to try and understand why she is being the way she is. Like the light says, just ask yourself, are you afraid? Are you okay? What are you feeling? And try to take that into account before you act on the situation you're in. I guess that's just another way of saying take a deep breath and try to calm down, and before you upset someone else, just collect yourself and cool down a bit, and remind yourself that you might not be in a state to communicate right now, and just calm down and do something else for a while before you act on this situation. And Anna is then told to and after she gets this lesson from God, in terms of, I guess, I'm jumping to a pretty big assumptions here, but I'm thinking it's potentially an anger problem that Anna is trying to address. And after this communication lesson from the light, she is kind of thinking, look, I would like to go back to Earth to make amends for any hurt that I've caused, and to be a better person. And as she decides this, she feels that she's ready to go back, and then she feels herself drift back into the body. She doesn't resist. It's just a peaceful acceptance or resignation of returning to this human life, which is not something that appeals to Anna. It's something that she would rather not do. She'd rather stay in the realm she's in, but she feels this is something she has to do, so she decides to go back. So when you read these experiences, you get a good and a bit of a glimpse as to the difficulties of the human experience for the soul. It's not an easy place to be. It's you're a human. You know how hard this can be on a daily basis, but At the same time, there's obviously something very special about coming to Earth and experiencing life as a human. There's a lot to learn and grow from, and of course it has its magical moments. Like you just have those times where you want to live forever. You want life to as this experience to go on and on and on, but that's always short-lived, because life is life, and there's always some sort of challenge, obstacle, difficulty lurking around the corner that will knock you back and knock you around and push you out of that state. And that's just part of this experience, isn't it? It's never a constant free-flowing state of joy or ecstasy. It's this roller coaster ride of bliss, down to darkness, up to joy, and then back down to pain. And it just it's like a yo-yo of you just it's a fantastic ride at the end of the day. It's on one of these interviews I did once last year, I think it was Neil Donald Walsh, he says on his tombstone, he often says in his interviews, I'm going to write what a ride. That's what he's going to have on his tombstone, and that is quite true, isn't it? It is an incredible ride, and one day we will look back and reflect on this experience and probably think the same thing, and depending on each soul, maybe want to do it again. But me personally, I think once I'm through with this one, I will be looking forward to a really long break with the light, and maybe we can come up with a plan for the next journey or adventure together. But I need a long rest after this time. I don't know about you, but it's an incredible experience. But at the same time, it's a difficult one. So but anyway, that's Anna's little experience. Just a short one today. I love that experience. It was particularly that bit about the light, and each of us having that connection to it, and we get to return to it one day. And it just gives me warm, fuzzy feelings to think that is, at the very least, a possibility. You gotta agree with that, surely. Like, it's been, I've read and listened to so many experiences now, and so many people have a similar sort of description of what this dying process is like. And it's otherworldly. It's beyond the capability of English language. It's totally foreign to what we experience in this physical realm, that it's difficult to understand, accept, explain. But at the same time, I think we're getting a gist now of what this actually means, like where we are and why we're here. It's where we seem to be through these experiences getting a better idea of the nature of our true existence and the reasons for us to be on Earth, and an understanding of our true nature, which is indestructible and a loving source. It's not, this human body is not who we are. So thank you for listening. You are amazing. I love you very much, and I am honoured to have you listening to this and on this spiritual journey with me. And feel free to reach out if you want to say hi or share an experience or whatever you want to do. My email is podafterlife@gmail.com. And I'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.